you've achieved so much in film, and you've written this beautiful memoir, and you've been an activist. And then sometimes I forget there's this part of your career that anyone else could hang their hat on, which was the exercise videos. Anyone else who had done that could have been their whole claim to fame.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a massive phenomenon. And I think it got so many people thinking about their health. That's a gift that keeps on giving.
It is, yeah. It wasn't until I wrote my memoir, and then I did a national book, actually an international book tour. But when I was in this country doing a book tour, and when you have a book that you've written, people line up to have you sign their books. And there was mostly women, and there'd be some women that would wait until it was all done. And then they would come to me and they would say, do you remember I marched with you in 72 in San Diego? And then someone else would say, this is often, Cat Ballou.
Yeah.
Cat Ballou my favorite movie. Oh my God, that meant so much to me. And somebody else would say, your exercise video let me recover from a mastectomy. You enabled me to be able to move my arm up and down. And I realized I've connected with people in this country on so many different ways.
Yes, you have.
And it took me by surprise. I hadn't really realized it,
I think it's lovely that if anybody connects with anybody, or with fans in one way, that's spectacular. But you've done something, when someone comes up and says, Jane, I have to tell you, it could be one of 175 things that you've done that meant something to them.
Yeah.
And it could be part of your activism. It could be, as you said, the exercise videos. It could be one of, even if, what's restricted to film, I can't count the number of films where you've had a huge impact. So that is a remarkable...
Do you remember Lyndon LaRouche?
Yeah.
Lyndon LaRouche was a horrible man who...
This was quite a turn, by the way. If you're driving right now, I hope you didn't just crash into a tree. Do you remember Lyndon LaRouche? No one else says that, but I do, yes.
This will get back. He would send people into gay bars with chains to beat up gay people.
Yeah.
He had people standing at the airports holding signs, like feed Jane Fonda to the way, terrible, mean signs. And I read an article, this was like 1977. We were in a recession, that he funded all of this from a business, a computer business. And I thought, I was married to the Irishman then, Tom Hayden. I said, we got to start a business, because we had a statewide organization, the Campaign for Economic Democracy. It was hard to fund. It's a huge state. We had offices up and down the state. And so we spent a year thinking, what business? A restaurant. Neither of us know anything about food,
right.
Or whatever. And then a very smart man who started Delancey Street. It was a house place where people could go who were recovering from addictions and things like that. John Marr. And he said, don't ever start a business that you don't understand. Well, that brought me up short, because the only thing I really understood was exercise. And I had met a woman named Lenny Kasdan who was doing this workout, and we turned it into a business that funded the organization.
That's incredible.
Yeah, copied Lyndon LaRouche. That's the...
Now, to be fair, I've watched Lyndon LaRouche's exercise videos, and he's wearing the leg warmers.
Yeah,
and,
I gained weight watching this.
I gained 200 pounds.
And an ulcer.
Yeah, it's funny how you bring that up. Even today we live in a world where there's so much anger, and there's
polarization.
So many people that are angry about how someone else is living their life, which I never understand. Do you know? Like, how does that concern you if someone else is living their life a certain way? Why is that?
Well, if you're suffering, and you know that you're suffering because the fuckers in Washington, the neoliberals of the last many decades, pay more attention to Wall Street and to money and to bankers than they do trying to serve me living in the Midwest and the Rust Belt.
Yep.
And so if you're suffering and you grew up with your dad belonged to a union and his dad belonged to a union, and they could afford to buy a home and send their kids to school, and now you can't, and now you have to take a job as a waiter, of course you're going to be angry.
Yeah.
Of course. And that's why these elected officials have to start paying attention, not just thinking because the Dow Jones looks a certain way that the people in the Midwest are going to be feeling okay. They're not.
I think one of the things that gets to me, though, is I think the anger is clearly legitimate. It's when people exploit it. get elected on it and then don't do anything to really address the issue.
Yeah, I know who you're thinking of. We won't mention his name.
Is it Lyndon LaRouche?
It was you, Gourley.
What?
You didn't see that coming. But yeah, it's fascinating to talk to you and to see you're as fired up and passionate now about pretty much everything we've talked about as you would have been in 1975. And I'm wondering if, like, everyone's always trying to figure out what's the way to age and stay healthy. Clearly, you are the greatest example of being able to achieve that and in style. But at the same time, I think, people wonder, what is it? What is it? And some people say it's staying connected. And I think also passionate. I mean, interested. And
curious. As you get older, if you've stayed interested and curious, you realize that it's all connected. Mm-hmm. There'd be no climate crisis if there was no racism. There'd be no climate crisis if there was no patriarchy. It's a mindset that sees things in a hierarchy. White men are here, everybody else is down here, plants and other animals are down here, and they see a tree, flooring. Oh, that would make a great floor, or a door, or, everything is to be exploited and monetized. That's led to the climate crisis, and it's all connected. And so when how can you not stay passionate about trying to do something about it?
Yeah.
Because we have so much potential. I mean, we're so brilliant as a species. My God.
Yeah.
And the world is so mysterious and wonderful and complicated and deserves protecting. And we don't even understand the half of it. I did Fire Drill Fridays this morning, and my guest was a guy named John Hosever, he's a marine biologist, and he knows how to pilot a submarine underwater. He can go to the depths of the ocean. And, he's seen things that we don't even know what they are or what they can do. And here we are talking about deep sea mining that would destroy it all. I mean, we need humility, and we need to get rid of greed.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that the collective is what's important.
Yeah. Well, I think humility is, with a capital H, is massive.
Yeah.
There's such an arrogance when people think, well, it's 2023 and we know most of what mankind needs to know, and we don't know anything.
Nothing.
They're constantly finding, 100 years from now, they will laugh at what we thought.
Yeah.
Now. And
if we're even around in 100 years.
I'll be here.
Because of our ignorance. You'll be here. You will be here.
We'll be here.
Bobbing on the ocean.
My little pompadour sticking out of the
your
water.
Your red pompadour sticking up like a wave.